You're listening to the House Hacking Podcast, the blueprint for one of the best financial life hacks there is. House hacking. If you are looking to get ahead financially or learn about the easiest way to get started with real estate investing, then you are in the right place. Stay tuned and join a community of individuals from all walks of life that use house hacking to eliminate their housing costs and accelerating their path to financial independence. Your number one place for all things house hacking.
Joseph, man, I'm so excited to have you on. I know we've been talking on Instagram. It seems like months and months and months, but welcome to the show. How you doing? And for folks that don't know you, where are you calling in from? Give us a summary of your experience.
Andrew, thank you for having me. General contractor in Los Angeles, specialize in ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units. The short story is I live, design, and build my own ADU a couple of years ago, and now I'm just helping more and more people house hack using the ADU system.
Awesome. I mean, and this is why we wanted to have you on. So many folks, as the market's gotten a lot hotter, are saying, I can't find that small multifamily, but I want a house hack. So they're starting to look at like the place with the unfinished business basement that they can renovate, or an ADU. And I absolutely love this. And for folks that have been listening to the show, I think it was episode 2 or 3 of our launch season 1, we had Cami on, where they had that detached garage and converted it into an apartment. But yeah, this is why I want to have you on, because you are the ADU expert. So, you know, just let's start with your house. Like, what caused you to design an ADU, and what were some of the numbers of like what you spent to build that ADU? And are you just using it as a home office? Are you renting it out now?
So I think the story goes before I built my own ADU and bought my own house. Obviously, I was very into multifamilies, also very into small spaces. I honestly didn't have enough money, not to buy, but even to rent.
Yeah.
So me and my brother kind of made a game plan where I work for him for a significant amount of time. He'll let me live in the ADU that we are going to build together. So I kind of took the design spot, and he kind of took the building side. We put all of our forces together and we built an ADU. He was, of course, a general contractor at the time, and I was almost nothing. And then I lived there for a couple of months, 6 months, until I got my feet up. He helped me buy a house. And when I got my first house, I was like, I want to do the same thing that he did for me, except make money with it.
Yeah.
I definitely had the option of living in the main house like he did, but he has family and kids. So I said, hey, why don't I just live in the garage where I used to live in, and the same size and everything, design it perfectly, and then rent out the main house. The main house today rents for $3,500, and my mortgage is $2,300. So I'm living rent free, paying off my mortgage, which is 30 years, and also pay all of utilities. I pay the pool maintenance. I pay the, everything.
All right, wait. So you got a pool in your house hack? Is that what I just heard?
I have a pool in my house hack. It's a single family with a pool. We're in Los Angeles, so people like pools.
Yeah.
I definitely could have built something in the back there. This house is a garage conversion in the front. So they lose the main house loses their garage, and I live in there. But on the plus side, they have a pool and they have a whole backyard space. It's 6,000 square feet. So they really feel like it's their personal home. I have my own separate entrance. So I really don't bother them.
That is awesome. I mean, talk about a killer house hack. And I mean, we've dived into all the house hacking ins and outs on a lot of other shows. So what I want to do is really get into this. And I know you've got up on your website, it's the, what do you call it? It's 5 steps to building an ADU. Is that right? That little
5 steps to building a profitable ADU.
Oh, okay. Profitable ADU. I like that. All right. So let's get into this first step. I mean, it's plans and permitting. So, you know, if I want to have an ADU, or let's say, I've got a property. Let's start with that place first. What do I need to think about before I even realize I can do an ADU? how do I plan for this and realize, can I get a permit for this?
Definitely. I'll speak to California first and foremost, Los Angeles and Los Angeles City. But there are ADUs going around all over America. So if you're in America, if you're all over and not in California, definitely call a local architect or your local building and safety department. The first thing I would say is detached garages are the easiest and cheapest. If you don't have a detached garage in the back, space, just the lot size is going to be something very significant. So some of us, especially in rural areas, have lot sizes of 5, 10, 15,000 square feet, you know, and your house is only 1,000 square feet or 2,000 square feet. If you have the lot size, you can build a new construction. And we're pretty much turning single family homes into duplexes. So plans is the first thing. Call local architects and call city planning.
Awesome. All right. So if we don't own a house yet and we want to do a house hack and we like that ADU style, we really want to look for a property that has a detached garage or has a lot of space. Obviously building codes in zoning and permitting is slightly different everywhere, but what do people need to think about, or can you expand a little bit on like what are setbacks that you have to have on property lines?
Sure. Better cities give us better setbacks. So cities that really want this to happen and want the housing crisis to end give us less setbacks. City of LA have 4 feet setbacks. So all around your new construction ADU or garage conversion, you're going to have 4 feet. If you have a garage, the good thing is that you don't need those setbacks and we don't care too much unless you want to make it substantially bigger. But
bigger as in wider, not bigger as in taller, right?
Bigger as in wider, not bigger as in taller, even though we will have some setbacks, but not as much when we go higher. But the other thing is setbacks are really here for fire department. So
Yep.
It's very important that if you have a living unit that's very close to the setback, the fire department needs to get in. And that's why we have the 4 feet and we have the 5 feet. Cities like Burbank and other Anaheim have 10 feet setbacks. So those setbacks will really, really hurt us when we have smaller spaces.
Great. So I would say then that sort of part of this first step is to look up your city's setbacks. And really the setback is how far back you have to be between the property line and a adjoining building. So like you said, a fire department could get through if they had to.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. So we found a property with a detached garage, or we realized we've got a lot that's big enough where we can build an additional building and not interfere with those setbacks by the city or county. So now, how do we want to think about designing an ADU?
Yeah, I think designing an ADU is number one, two things. The first one is natural lighting. And, this is such a tiny home that a lot of people don't, and with the setbacks, sometimes we have almost no natural light. We're facing north and the garage is in the south, so we have no natural lighting. That's the first thing. The second thing, if this is going to be a real house hack, the people that are living in the main house and the ADU need to feel separate. So it's not enough to have a duplex, because I know duplexes work really well with house hacking, but duplexes, they feel one on top of each other. The reason why ADUs work really well is it's a duplex, but it's really two single family homes. So if you can give them a little outdoor space for the ADU, even if it's 150 square feet, to make them feel good and to give them that in and out feel that they're not living in an apartment complex, this is something that's going to be really nice. If you have a detached ADU, we usually put a fence right down the middle, and then the single family home has the front side and the ADU has the back side. They try not to bother each other, and they have their outdoor space and these guys have their outdoor space. So natural lighting and outdoor space.
Natural lighting, outdoor space. You don't have that shared wall, and you put up a fence if possible to get that privacy. All right. So then, if we're thinking about sort of these two big design things, is there like a minimum square foot that we should think about to not go under? I mean, what do we, if you obviously do design work on an ADU, so if someone has a detached garage that, is 10 feet by, 20 feet, that's 200 square feet. is that going to be too small? I mean, what are really the minimum dimensions we want to think about when we're going to do an ADU?
Yeah, most garages that we'd see are around 400 square feet. So we feel that we make them compact. I come from a tiny home space. I've lived in tiny homes my whole life. I really like it. I like making it compact, and it's part of the design. I think what we figured out is 350 square feet and below, that's going to be a studio.
Okay.
350 to 500, that's going to be a one bedroom. Obviously,
Okay.
350 is a small one bedroom, 500 is a fancy one bedroom.
Yeah.
600 square feet is a two bedroom, one bathroom, which are very strong in the LA market. Um, Up to 750 square feet, you get two bedrooms, two bathrooms. And you can also go up to 1,200 square feet. So 1,200 square feet would be three bedrooms, three bathrooms, a huge kitchen, and just actually extra space in your living room.
Awesome. Now, from the design standpoint, I mean, what are some rough ballpark numbers? Like if I have an existing garage that's detached, I mean, how much would I need to save to pay a designer to help lay out the new space and design it? And then if I just have the space, but I don't have the detached garage, what would it cost for the plan and design side of things? Rough numbers. Obviously, there's a lot of variabilities in there.
Yeah. I don't think it matters too much. It's actually easier with a garage conversion, but it's
Yep.
also easier on the new construction. They kind of both have their own merits. It depends really on your local architects. We've seen drafters charge $1,500 without pushing it through the city, and we've seen contractors do $5,000 to $6,000, but they deal with the whole city perspective. So
Gotcha.
the one side is plans and getting a good design. The other side is pushing it through your county. Some
Yep.
counties are easier and some counties are harder.
Yeah. So 1,500, $2,000 for the design side, another grand or two, maybe a little more depending on the permitting side and getting everything through the city and county. All right. So obviously design, the natural light, building in some privacy. I mean, what are some like tips and tricks to think about to make a compact space actually useful for folks to think about when they're trying to lay out a good space?
I think the first thing is the kitchen, and looking at smaller appliances is always the number one. Everyone wants to put in full washer dryers, full sinks, full ovens. I tell everyone 24 inches max. So you're gonna have a 24-inch oven, 24-inch washer dryer, 18-inch sink, and people think I'm crazy, but I live in it and other people live in it. I'm never cooking a full Thanksgiving dinner in one of these units. So it's
Yeah.
enough. It's brand new. It's 2020. People want to have that 2020 feel, and we don't have to exaggerate. You know, there's going to be one person, maybe two people living in the smaller units. Once we get into the bigger areas, then we don't have to focus on tiny homes and compact homes, and then we can have the full size appliances.
Awesome. All right. So what do we need to look for then in a designer or an architect? I mean, should we really try to find someone that's done ADUs or small spaces, or can really any architect lay this out? I mean, what's sort of your opinion?
I think ADUs are so new that building codes are being written every month. So just in the last year, we've had three different building codes in Los Angeles. So the first most important thing is finding an architect or a drafter that knows your county laws. That's going to be the number one. I don't care if he's more expensive, that's going to be the best case scenario. Um, Design is really nice. I think we leave the design for an interior designer later. So we kind of just want the structural engineer to get this thing approved. Once we get structural engineer to approve it, then we can design the interior.
Awesome. All right. So we've picked the right architect and we've done some design research. We're making sure our plans are in and we're going through the permitting process. You know, the second thing on your sort of 5 steps to building a profitable ADU is, financing. So how do folks usually financing? Do you have any tips for folks or tricks or, how do you actually get this done? Because, ADUs can be reasonably priced to pretty expensive, but a lot of folks don't have a ton of cash a lot of times sitting around to do that. So what do we need to think about for financing an ADU?
So obviously equity loan is the first thing we tell people. But we also have a lot of renovation loans. So, money's cheap today, so we don't have to take equity loans. Obviously, the HELOCs, we don't have to do the HELOCs ever because it's just 80% of your equity. So we have renovation loans. The renovation loans we're seeing today, especially from Loan Depot and other sort of smaller companies, 90% of future valuation, which is really, really nice. So even if you have $1 million home and you build an ADU, you're going to get the valuation of 1.3, which is more than you're going to spend on the ADU. So you're getting 90% of ARV. And if it's an attached ADU, which we can also do in garages, you're getting 110% of future valuation, which kind of just brings it up. If you're getting 110% of future valuation at such a low cost, just take out money and you can do this and repeat and repeat. So all you need is 20% equity on one home to have 5 or 6 homes with ADUs.
Awesome. All right. So HELOC, renovations loans, or cash is sort of the finance. Now going on to, sort of step 3 of your sort of five steps is the build side. What should we look for in a contractor? Can it just be a normal handyman, or do we need to find a general contractor? I mean, what do we need to think about here?
Yeah, so I think the main thing to focus on is we're building brand new homes that are going to rent for a lot of money. So you want a good job. You're going to hire a general contractor to build a brand new home. But the second thing is that in most cases, clients think and homeowners think that we can take whatever is existing and just add a kitchen or add a bathroom, but city laws don't allow that. So we're really taking apart all of the drywall, all of the roof, all of the stucco, and building from scratch. So you need a handyman that knows everything or a general contractor that has his subs in order.
Awesome. All right. And then, what are some best practices if we're hiring a GC? What should we be asking them about their experience? Obviously, we want someone with renovation experience, ideally someone that's done like an extension, a camelback, an ADU. But outside of that, what do we need to be asking for to make sure we're getting a good general contractor to help us with this process?
Yeah, I think timeline is always good to ask. So a lot of the reasons why we're doing this well is because we're doing them very quick. So we're getting out of people's hairs and we're building them. We don't take on too many projects. We build them quick, we build them efficient, and then we move on to our next projects. A lot of people that I see are in a city and in plan check for months, and then they finally get a building permit, and then they're taking 6 months to build these units while we're building them in 6 weeks. And I tell them, you picked a cheaper contractor, but you're going to waste 6 months of rent compared to me when you're getting a renter in under 60 days.
And that's 6 months of people working on your property, dropping nails and shingles and materials and noise and disruption and taking up parking spots on the street. Like, I'd rather pay more money and have it done in 6 weeks all day long than it drag out for months and months and months. Awesome. So find someone with the experience. Obviously, we want folks that are licensed and insured.
Of course.
And then really talk about that timeline of someone that can do it quicker and, don't cheap out and go for the cheaper person that's going to take months. Obviously you just said it takes about 6 weeks. I mean, is that really what it's going to take us? I mean, once we get the plans done and permits approved, I mean, how does that build process really go? Would we have access into that space during that sort of 6-week period? Or, let's just sort of talk through that 6 weeks and what happens sort of, week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on.
So the 6 weeks kind of came from a challenge. You can look it up online. It's called the 6-week challenge. We were challenged by the mayor of Culver City to do the fastest ADU and the most efficient ADU. That's strictly for a garage conversion with no addition. If you want to do a new construction, it has to be a little bit longer, maybe 9 weeks or 10 weeks. But yeah, I'll run you guys through it. With a garage, you already have an existing foundation, you already have existing walls, and you already have existing roof. So we kind of start with demo, but by day 3 after demo, we're already doing framing. So in the first week, we're already framing our bedrooms, we're already framing our bathrooms, we're already framing our walls. The second week, we're already doing MEPs. So electrician is already there. You know, again, it's a small space. So the electrician comes with 2 people and they finish all of the rough wires in 2 days. You know, there's also some trenching and whatnot, but by week 2, plumbing is already done with with rough-ins and also with trenching. Week 3, if we're fast, we're putting in insulation and drywall. There's obviously some inspections there that have to get done. By the end of week 3, I plan on having drywall in, drywall nails, paint, patch, and sand. Like we're already waiting for the paint to dry by the end of week 3. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah. Week 4, we're doing countertop. We're doing flooring. We're doing tile in the bathroom, and potentially we're getting our kitchen cabinets. At least we are ordering kitchen cabinets to get in.
Yep.
Um, Once week 4 is done, we pretty much have our bathroom ready to go. Obviously, our toilets and our vanities need to go in as well, but our countertops are going in, and then our tile in the backsplash are going in. By week 6, we should have all inspections done with, and then we're just kind of figuring out last minute things, last minute touch ups. That's kind of how our 6-week challenge goes. It takes a lot of manpower to get drywall up in 3 weeks, but if your foundation is strong and your roof is strong, we can do this thing in 6 weeks, and so should other contractors.
Awesome. So 6 weeks if we're renovating an existing garage, 9, 10 weeks if we're building it up from scratch. I'll put a link in the show notes for folks about that 6-week challenge. We'll go pull it and include it in there. I want to check that out. That sounds pretty awesome that you're challenged by the mayor to do it. All right. So we're going through this building process. One of the things that really comes up is, let's talk about like the typical 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, that like 450 square feet. How livable is this? Obviously you said we're not going to have a Thanksgiving dinner for a bunch of folks. We're not having a giant family in there, 1 or 2 people, it works out perfectly. But like, how livable is that space? And then, how nice can we make the fixtures and furnishes? And is that something that is easier to splurge on if you're doing like the smaller dishwasher and washer and all of that stuff, where you can do nicer tile in the bathroom because it's only 25 square feet total?
Yeah, this is a very good question. I think it's very livable for the right person. So again, we live in America and people want huge spaces, but a lot of the spaces are all dead. So
Yeah.
I really feel, me and my girlfriend, she has 800 square feet studio, and I have a 375 1 bedroom. And she tells me everything the same time. You designed this place so well that I feel more comfortable and more at home in your space compared to my space. There's too many walls, there's too many doors. She has 5 doors in her studio. It's almost crazy. There's just doors everywhere. So I think a lot of open cabinets, open closets, the only doors that we're putting in is either the bathroom or the bedroom. Everything
Yeah.
else is open, closet is open. I think it's very livable. I think you should also not underrate how much the appliances cost in smaller units. They actually cost more. The
Or,
smaller
yeah.
appliances cost more than the bigger appliances in some cases.
Yeah.
But again, 1 to 2 people. So when I have friends over and I have 3 people in my home, it's already cramped. So the
Yeah.
4th person, it's already too much. It's perfect for 1 person, and it's perfect for 2 people, and that's about it. And we're in an urban society. We're in Los Angeles, so 1 or 2 people are perfect. They like the space. People aren't renting these out to 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, and what I really love about the ADU is if you get the good property and you design an ADU space well, the property can change with you over time. So maybe you buy the property, you build the ADU while you're young and single, and you live in the ADU and rent out the big house. And then you get a little more serious and your significant other moves in, you live in the ADU for a little while longer, and then you start to have a family and you move to the big house, and then you rent out the ADU to keep offsetting those mortgages. So before we get into your step 4, which I know is rent, what's a rough cost for, building an existing garage and converting it into that sort of 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, like you have this 375 square foot, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom?
So yeah, building costs can really range. I would assume if the foundation is good and the roof is good and we're keeping the same structure, you're looking at $180 to $200 a square foot. So, roughly 60 to $80,000 for a garage conversion. Um, Once you go new construction, the bigger it is, the cheaper it gets. So new
Yep.
construction, 400 square feet, you might look at $300 a square foot, even more in some cases, especially if you have to do solar. Once you get into the 800 square feet, you're probably looking at around $250 a square foot. Once you go bigger and better, it's just like building a home. You can build a home at
Yeah.
180 square feet, and you can also build a home at 200, even 500. But that should be the range.
Awesome. And that's roughly for LA, California building costs. I mean, obviously New York might be a lot more expensive. And if you're in Iowa, it could be a lot less. But I mean, I think that's a great rule of thumb for folks just to get an idea of what would it cost me to build this. All right. So we've built it. We've had this beautifully designed space. On to step number 4, renting out our new ADU. I mean, do you have any tips and tricks here of what folks can think about to rent this ADU?
Definitely. I think you guys on your show, you always talk about make sure that the renter is going to be able to pay and check out his job and call his references. I actually see that a lot less in ADUs because they live so close to you that you on the one hand, we're building duplexes, but on the other hand, they're living in your backyard. So you're going to be
Yeah.
very friendly with them. I tell the story all the time. For Christmas dinner, I went to my family, but my main house invited me to their home. So we're
Yeah.
almost family. We see each other, we park on the same street, we have shared walls sometimes and shared back spaces. So pick a renter that you like. That's the first thing. And second of all, don't overcharge them, charge them well, and make sure that they're happy because at the end of the day, they really, really are paying your rent and you're paying your mortgage. So we want both parties to be happy and we don't want lousy neighbors because they're right next door.
Awesome. And then how do you usually charge it? And obviously this is going to be slightly different across the country, but do you as the owner then pay water for both units and then each unit then pays its own electricity because you add in a second meter, or do you usually have it run off the first property, or do you just sort of just do the flat rent? All utilities are included.
So it's a happy medium. Before in step 1 and step 2, you can actually tell the city what you want. So we have electrical, gas, and water. Gas and water are somewhat cheap and the fees are very high to get separate ones. So I always tell people do separate electrical and then just pay for their gas and water and charge them a little bit more. The Wi-Fi comes up a lot. So some people have separate Wi-Fi, some people have the same Wi-Fi and kind of do an all-inclusive. I see the all-inclusive model work really well, especially for mid-size rentals. So not 2-year rentals. You're looking more for 6-month rentals, and in the summer
Yep.
months next to the beach, or even 2 or 3 months for working areas where you give them water, you give them gas, you give them electric, you give them Wi-Fi, and you just put them in. You fully furnish it and you put them in, and then that's where you're going to get a lot of money in urban societies. If you're a little bit more suburby, then you can make them pay for electrical and gas and water and let them have their own house long term for 2 or 3 years.
Awesome. All right. And then the fifth step on building a profitable ADU. Why don't you tell us what it is?
Okay, so it's just repeat. So we've spoken about this often that you're putting in so much equity into your home that you get more equity after you build this than what you're going to spend on it. So it's not like a pool where you spend a lot of money and don't get the equity. So we keep doing renovation loans. You have a house, you have some equity in it, build an ADU, you're going to have a lot more equity after you finish the project. Take that equity, go buy a second house. The loans are really, really cheap for someone who's owner occupied. So you can rent out the first home, the main house, and the ADU, go move into the secondary unit, and then build an ADU on your second property. Then you
Yeah.
have, at the end of 2 years, you'll have 2 main homes and 2 ADUs. By your third home, you should be thinking about the next location you want to build an ADU. And if you're okay to move every year, you can really build a portfolio of single family homes with ADUs and have a portfolio of duplexes.
Yeah, I wrote this cool article and I'll put it in the show notes. It's like the house hacking leapfrog strategy, where the
Yes.
idea is you just go from house hack to house hack to house hack, whether it's a single family room rental, ADU, multifamily, however it is, but you just do that for a couple of years. Next thing you know, you have this portfolio of 4 or 5 properties that are producing tons of cash flow for you to then you can go have your nice dream home. Awesome. I really love it. So, thinking back through your ADU, what would you have done differently now, sort of the experience that you have, if you could go back and say, hey, redo the space, my 375 square feet differently, what would you do?
I think for design, two things. Number one, make a studio because I'm already living alone, so I don't need the one bedroom. It's too small. And don't think that rent is going to be more if you get the one bedroom. It most of the time will change very little. The second thing is pick good neighbors. My first neighbor was a huge challenge, and until we got him out of that, it happened before COVID, but until we got them out, and I was happy living next to someone that had a huge family, um, I think took a while. And also lower your ego a little bit because a lot of people are building these things because they might lose their home. I know we're on a house hacking channel, but it's the same perspective. You can't afford a full home by yourself or your dream home, so you have someone live in your backyard. Everyone needs to lower their egos a little bit and be okay with someone living in the back. Treat them nicely and treat them with respect. They are paying your mortgage and they want to just, have their own home. So we don't bother them late at night and we don't ask them too many questions if they're having parties or if they're having the lights on too much. If we want to have someone in the back, be happy with it and be happy with what you have.
I mean, I think those are just great tips for house hacking, right? Because you have someone in your property, whether it's a detached garage, it's the basement you finished out, or it's a multifamily and you have that shared wall. So awesome. So before we let you go, we like to ask all of our guests a set of final 6 questions. Are you ready for them?
Go, let's do it.
All right. Number 1, what is your favorite personal finance blog, book, or podcast?
Meredith 203 Renovation Loans. She just started a podcast. I'm going to shout her out.
Awesome. All right. Number 2, what's your favorite real estate related? So, I mean, you sort of did that on the first one. Do you have one that's, I guess, personal finance related only?
I don't read too many books, to be honest, but I really like the Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've read it
Mhm.
multiple times and I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, that's an awesome one. All right. Number 3, what has been your favorite travel destination you've been to? Could be in the US or halfway around the world, whatever your favorite is.
I think definitely Copenhagen. I think if you're going to go to
Ooh.
Copenhagen, don't go in the winter, go in the summer. It's much more fun.
Awesome. All right. Number 4, what is next on your travel vacation list? Do you have something planned during COVID and then maybe something epic planned after COVID ends?
I do a lot of small travels. I go snowboarding a lot, so I travel up and down California, sometimes to Utah. So that's definitely on the list. Bigger on the list, I just want to take a break and go to Miami. I know it's not too crazy or too ideal, but just a week in Miami where it's just a little bit quiet.
Dude, Miami's fun. I mean, when I think of Miami, I don't think of quiet. I think of a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, Miami's awesome. All right, number 5, what is your biggest bucket list item that you have not accomplished yet?
I want to say buy a multifamily. I think it's always been on my bucket list, and I think I'm running away from that bucket list. I want to keep it on for this podcast, but definitely I want to do ADUs on multifamilies.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. Make that duplex or triplex all of a sudden have that additional unit. That's pretty awesome. All right, the 6th and final question, what is your favorite life hack?
Life hack, be happy with where you are. Be very, very helpful and humble. And it might take a minute, but eventually everyone comes back and people gravitate towards people that give education for free and that help other people.
Awesome. And speaking of free education, you actually have a free download with your 5 steps to building an ADU. So I'm going to put that in the show notes for everyone. So check out the show notes, and I'll include that link so you can get a recap of the episode and also get a link to download Joseph, the ADU specialist guide on building a profitable ADU. Outside of that, I mean, where can people find you if they want to go check you out?
I'm very big on Instagram. I try to post every single day with good content. YouTube is more very specific. I'm all over YouTube. And if you want city tailored ADU laws, you can go to my website at neobuildersadu.com. Happy to help anyone that needs help.
And we'll put all those links in the show notes for folks, but you definitely, I mean, I like everything you're doing, but your Instagram is on fire. I mean, the way you started doing these little videos from on site, I'm absolutely loving it. I mean, literally every morning I'm checking, I'm like, all right, what did he post? What did he post? So I'll put all those links in the show notes, man. But I'm so glad I finally got you on the show. I mean, because this is a perfect way for folks to start house hacking when you can't find that multi-family property. So thank you again for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Andrew, thanks for having me.